Matt Stoll, thank you so much for joining us. You are a candidate for the 20th Congressional District, running to replace former Bakersfield Congressman Kevin McCarthy. Thank you so much for joining us in studio.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, let's start by putting the politics aside. Just tell our viewers who you are. You know, what's your background? What's your career been like? Who are you, Matt?
Sure. So I'm a born and raised, diehard American, born during the Cold War. I was born in New Jersey, and the Navy brought me out to California in 2001. I've worked since I was 9, been an entrepreneur ever since. Started my own companies, several of them. Currently I own Visalia Landscape and Tree Company up in Visalia in the district on the north side. I have about 22 employees. I have landscaping crews, tree crews, and a retail storefront. I did 20 years in the Navy, flying F-18s, Super Hornets, 7 deployments, 4 combat deployments, all out of Lemoore Naval Air Station, which is over on the western side of the district. And I love our country, and I feel like we are under full-fledged attack and assault, part of a greater plan by the Communist Party, backing liberal candidates, and I'm here to fight that and try to take them out. So.
Tell me, I know you said you were a fighter pilot, right? You are a diehard American. Did that inspire you to join the Navy? What inspired you to be on active duty?
Sure. So back in the day, I was exposed to the military family. My grandfather was in World War II. My other grandfather was a Marine. Lots of family members that served in Vietnam. My sister's a Marine. My other sister was in the Navy. And, I was exposed a lot to air shows back as a child. We had the Cold War going on against the Soviet Union at that time, and I really just wanted to go out there and fight for America and kill communists. So they're really the root of evil. I believe that in my heart. I know it from the business community, and that's what really was the push. So here I am again, trying to get in the game and save America from the invasion that's going on in the all-out assault.
We'll get into that a bit more, but I'm just so fascinated. I don't know much about fighter pilots and
Sure.
What that looks like, but you fly them off carriers, right?
Yes.
The planes, how does that all work?
Yeah, so it's fantastic. I mean, I wish everybody could take one ride out there. I have landings on 7 different aircraft carriers, 500 carrier-arrested landings in my naval career, and it's the ultimate ride. When I got in, I used to tell people that all the time. It's almost too hard to describe, but you take a roller coaster on steroids and, you put full afterburner, a lot of power behind it, and then just really the essence of America. It's just the ultimate freedom. When you're up there in that jet in the sky, you can do anything you want. You can just rip around and go fast and go slow and go low and just see things and have this incredible perspective of our country and our countryside and all that our system is built, and it's worth fighting for. So that's a big part of it. Being in a fighter jet lets you realize, wow, this country made these great machines to defend our great way of life, and flying them is just exhilarating.
Last question on this. About how many times would you say you've flown a plane?
Many thousands, probably maybe 9 or 10,000 times.
And what age were you when you joined the Navy?
21. I was commissioned when I was 21.
Wow, okay. Now let's get into the politics. Let's start with, when did your run for the 20th Congressional District came about? I know you've run in past elections, but what inspired this specific run?
So when Kevin McCarthy announced his retirement, I'd already made some questions and some queries to some fellow congressmen like Mike Garcia down south of here. He's a good friend of mine. We were in the Navy together. We flew fighters together.
Endorsed you last time.
Yep, right. And he endorsed me last time, and then Jake Elsie as well. So I was interested. I didn't know that the Congressman McCarthy was going to resign. But once that did, I did realize a couple things. One, it was going to open a door, and then 2, who is he going to endorse, who he's going to get behind. Right. So that remained a little bit, of a mystery for a while, and then things have kind of played out as they are, as the battle space has been set. But I've always wanted to serve, more recently after my military career, because I firmly believe we're in a real detrimental time in our lives as a country, as a republic, as a constitutional republic. We are under assault, really, at every aspect, from the border to our way of capitalistic progress, water here in the valley, energy. Every single aspect of what's going on in the current environment politically is an assault on the American way of life. And I represent a very unique opportunity for the public to vote as a combat-proven fighter pilot, to bring a different perspective. I will never be a career politician. I'm the only one who has no experience on the Republican side. 2 other candidates are career political types. I think that's a mistake. I think I bring a fresh breath of air and a real combative level of fight to what needs to be done right now. We got the invasion at the southern border, which is part of a plan. We've got oil and energy being restricted, which is part of a plan. We've got water being weaponized, which is part of a plan. We have our children being indoctrinated in schools, which is part of a plan to change the fundamental roots and foundation of the American democracy that we so much enjoy. And if we don't fight back now, we're going to roll over and it's going to be endgame for the entire public. Doesn't matter what party.
We're going to dive deeper into each of those issues, but the plan you're talking about, you said each of these issues are part of a plan. What is that plan?
Well, I think it's to revolutionize the United States, turn it into a full-on socialist country, and destroy it. Effectively, we're going to balkanize. They want us fighting each other. It's happening. They're pitting us against one another. I mean, everyone is now a victim, and that's not the way America was designed. America was founded to have folks who come in and believe in God, to establish themselves and work hard, and with hard work, and you can seize opportunity, you can make money, and you can live the American dream. And that American dream is, freedom, financial freedom, the freedom to move around society, the freedom to acquire things, the freedom to believe in the religions that you like, and so on and so forth. And so that's every aspect that is under assault. And so, and it's a coordinated assault. I believe at this time, some serious power players are involved, such as the Soros Foundation and people backed by the Chinese Communist Party, and they are undermining every aspect of our government and our institutions.
I'm curious, these beliefs, that you have, that America is under attack, how does that then affect the way you tackle issues in Congress? Do you think that's going to look a little different from what other Congress members, how they might tackle the border crisis, for example? Are the proposed actions of yours a bit different than what we see typically?
I think absolutely. I think I want to be more aggressive than anyone's ever seen. We are at a point where it's time to rock and roll the fight. I'm going to come over the top every time against the communist liberals and their elite agenda. We are going to fight back relentlessly and unwavering. Every time they hit, we're going to hit back harder, every single time. I will not back down. I'm willing to put everything at risk. I have a company, I have a family. These things will all be attacked relentlessly. I'm aware of that. I'm ready to go. I've combat proven. I'm the only one in this campaign that is, and I'm ready to bring an entirely different type of fight. So I'm positioned. I'm also a businessman. I understand the regulations. I understand the fight in the capitalist community up in Visalia. I'm battling every single day different aspects of how government is intruding and making business difficult. So I bring, unlike the other candidates who have no private sector experience, I have a ton.
While we're on the topic of border security, let's talk more about that. How do you hope to tackle that issue if you are elected to federal office?
Sure. So, I will immediately support the Trump agenda. I will shut the border down entirely. I will roll the National Guard down there immediately. I will support that. I will bring the full-on military down there if we had to. This is a domestic problem, but it's also an international problem. We cannot have a ship that's taking on water, and the United States is the world's preeminent aircraft carrier. But we have a lot of holes. These holes are being punched by design. A lot of them are misdirection to infiltrate our country with drugs and evil things that are polluting our society, not to mention criminals and possibly terrorists. So we've got to secure that border yesterday. The border's being held hostage right now, too, by the Democrats. And that's just showing that they want the crisis to continue to perpetuate. They love the ideology that illegal immigrants can come in. They're finding ways to register them to vote, and they're consolidating their control. They're consolidating their ability to gather votes and to go like California, which is a super majority with the Democrats within this state.
Shut down the border completely, as in no more immigration through the southern border?
Right, and I fully support legal immigration, but I would deport everyone who's here. We don't start out a game by breaking the rules. We have to have rules, and there can be no exceptions. And that's another thing that's great about America. It's supposed to be a law-abiding land with justice, liberty, and justice for all. And so we have that by maintaining a border and enforcing our existing laws. Everyone here is an immigrant at some point. Myself, my family, my parents, your parents, I'm sure, we're all coming from other areas. And that's the lifeblood of our country. But you do it legally, and you do it because you want to assimilate and you want to contribute to American capitalist society, which is founded on the Constitution. And that's what we have to do.
I know in a former interview, Matt, you said you are all for a due process, again, to support legal immigration. You mentioned that you would deport illegal immigrants. Does that mean any illegal immigrant who's already in the country, right, if they are found to be of undocumented status, you support deporting them?
Yes, I do. Absolutely.
They don't go through a judicial process, a court process?
They come in illegally, they've broken the law, they've already established that they are willing to break the law, and that's the end of it.
So under your belief, they have to come in legally to remain in the U.S. Any other method?
Otherwise, it's just like the rest of us. We have to get in line. They have to get in line and wait. If we can streamline the process to legal, simplified immigration, let's do that. I mean, government always complicates things and makes a lot of red tape. So let's make this much more easy, and let's allow good people to come into our country to contribute.
Right. And I know we were on the topic of the former president. You said you wanted to be part of the quote-unquote red tsunami of Republicans taking back the House back during the 2022 midterm elections. How do you think elections are going to go this time around?
Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise. I really thought there was going to be a lot more of a red wave there. And as everyone knows, we really just barely captured the House. I'm not really sure fundamentally what wrong, although I would estimate that a lot of it was not enough fighting back, not enough candidates like Matt Stoll to come in there and just really open up a can of kicking butt, and I think that's the big problem. So this election cycle, I think there's a lot of motivation again, but it's going to be, it's going to be a long haul. It's only January. We'll see what happens come the primaries in March and then again in the fall. I do think there's a good energy out there, but there's a lot of resistance, and we are fighting a deeply embedded enemy out there who's infiltrated every aspect of our society. And so I am concerned about how that'll play out, and I don't know that there will be, a real swing one way or the other.
Do you think it'll be another Trump administration, and do you endorse the former president?
I absolutely endorse President Trump. I think he's magnificent. I think he's been right on almost every single thing he's discussed, from his pre-presidential position to the time he had in office. Every aspect of things that have come against him have been, false and just fabricated, and we've seen that time and time again. What's disheartening is that we don't have an attack back, and that's what I represent. I would support whatever his agenda is, loyally and unequivocally, and I think he's going to be a great president. I think he has a great shot of winning. I am concerned about election integrity. I have to say that because it's a true belief of mine. Again, when you have illegal immigrants coming in, and California is a perfect test bed, and this is by design, you can go to the DMV and get a license, and there are people outside the DMV ready to register you regardless of your citizen status. We have a huge problem. So I'm concerned.
On the topic of election integrity, back in 2022, you noted you're in favor of an audit of the 2020 presidential election. Then a few months later, in another interview, you said there were audits done in some states that sided with a Biden victory. And so you said it was time for America to move on. Do you still stand by that statement?
Yeah, I mean, we have to get facts, I mean, part of our country is history, and knowing the actual history is absolutely important. So I would love to see the results of those things and deep dive it. Yes, certainly. But again, here's another assault by the communist liberal agenda. They want to destroy our history. They're tearing down statues. They're tearing down mementos to the history of the United States and this great republic. That's what communists do. They destroy history. History, you don't have to like it. You don't have to hate it, but it's part of life to learn from. You do need to respect it, and that's the whole essence of why it's out there. And when you see the actions that are going on supported by liberals, you know that there is a greater agenda at work, and it's terrible for our country. It's terrible for all citizens, regardless of party preference.
Will you accept the results of the 2024 election no matter what?
I would think so, but you never know what's going to happen, so let's let it play out. I would hope people are not going to engage in shenanigans. We've seen a lot of things already in former elections. I hope that party officials at the local offices and the election offices can really hold the line and keep things with full election integrity.
And to be even more specific, if Mr. Trump were to lose his 2024 run for president, would you still vote to certify the results of the 2024 election?
Yeah, at that time, probably. I would like to see what's going on, what has happened, but I mean, I'm going to use my best judgment and look at the facts that I can come to terms with, and then, yeah, I'll take it from there.
And I'm curious where you stand on the January 6th Capitol riot. Would you, if you were elected to Congress, right, would you be in favor of potentially some of those involved being pardoned? 100%.
They should all be pardoned. It was not an insurrection. There's a lot of shenanigans going on there. I mean, the media has painted this a certain way. There's a lot of really fishy things that happened. There's some government entities that were in play there. I mean, people did not go in there and raise, rape, and pillage the Capitol. They did go inside the Capitol. Some things got broken. Who did what, when, and how, it's very difficult to ascertain. We haven't seen the full scope of the tapes to my knowledge, although the new speaker did release a good portion of those, if I'm not mistaken, out the gate. And so those are the public's tapes. They should have been released right away. And so I don't think it was an insurrection, no, and I would pardon every person involved and let America move forward.
Okay, again, all of them.
Yes, I would.
Alrighty. And how do you work in a Congress divided? Former Speaker McCarthy recently stated that members of the Freedom Caucus, right, are the ones who have stopped the Republicans from being able to govern. Do you agree with that statement, first of all? And also, again, how do you work in a Congress divided?
Sure. Speaker McCarthy, you know, I'm sure he was privy to a lot more of what was going on in the finer points that I do not know. And I believe he did a good job. I believe, you know, he served his country. And here we are at the new election. So I honestly, I think you fight back, and like I said, untiring with conviction and will, unlike anything we've seen so far. And that's how I'm going to work. I will try to work with reason, but the Democrats are like horrible penance. You give them an inch and they take a mile, and they never stop asking for more. They want everything to be a crisis. They will concoct a crisis. They will capitalize on a crisis. This is part of their game plan. Every time there's a crisis, they can reallocate resources and blow it up in the media. And we're going to fight back on every level at that. That's the only way. And so if we get nothing done, then so be it. We'll get something done by letting the people know that we're here and we mean business. And we're going to fight back for the Republic, for the Constitution, no matter what it takes.
Do you agree with his statement that the Freedom Caucus, known as the very far right flank of the Republican Party, that they are preventing the government from being able to be a government, to govern?
I don't think I agree with that. I don't know the super fine details on or specifics per se on that, but I believe most of the members of that caucus are really patriotic American, red-blooded constitutionalists, and they really want to fight hard, and I think they are fighting hard. And I think that their best interest is what's in the best interest of all people of the United States, not just the Republican side or the Freedom Caucus side as an individual entity. So their hearts are in the right place. Whether or not they're inhibiting progress, I disagree with that. I think they're on the right team, and they're staunch in their convictions.
People like Matt Gaetz, too, who's often blamed for the ousting of Mr. McCarthy from his speakership post.
Right, yes, of course he is, because he initiated the vote. So.
Okay. So you think even people like Matt Gaetz, you don't think he's disrupting the government from being able to carry out its duties? Well,
I think it obviously resulted in the ousting of the speaker, which was a surprise. I think that's, you know, that was in there as a constitutional item that could be executed. The founding fathers put it in there for a reason. The situation played out the way it did, and here we are today. So do I see it as a disruption? I mean, it was a disruption to the speaker at the time. It was a disruption to being able to address the agenda items of the day. But moving forward, we're still, you know, they're still functioning to a certain level.
And one more question on former President Donald Trump. Do his legal trials matter to you? And I think you touched on this previously, but just to put a fine point on it, do you think he's being targeted unfairly by the legal system?
100 million% he is being targeted. And it's totally not right. I mean, I'm a real estate broker as well as one of my business trades. You can debate valuations all day long, and you're going to say something's worth $10, I might say it's worth 12 or 8, and then we're going to come to terms. And what they're debating right now in that specific trial, which I think is a total charade, with one singular judge having the ability to make the decision, it's an outrage. And again, the same thing down in Georgia. You know, you have so many shenanigans going on with the prosecutor and infidelity and that kind of thing. And just at every level, you have the ability for these people to be blackmailed, and someone's controlling them. And again, this goes to the great agenda and the great war plan that we are under. And these people, the power players, are playing this beautifully. They are maneuvering at every juncture to manipulate things against the former president. And I would fight back, just like he is. Absolutely.
If you were in Congress now, would you vote in favor of a Biden impeachment inquiry?
100%, yes. Okay. There is so much there. He's absolutely corrupt. It's easy to say he's the most corrupt president in history. All you have to do is follow the money. Hunter is the conduit. He's taking bags of money, suitcases of money. They're writing checks. It's money laundering 101. You talk to any simple CPA and they'll be able to figure that out. And we're not doing anything. And I would represent an all-out attack and assault on finding out the truth and holding people accountable. This goes back to Hillary Clinton. When are we going to hold anyone accountable? We don't. The liberals seem to get away with everything, and the Republicans seem to get crucified. And so we've got to have equal justice under the law.
I know we talked about your business and your career as a businessman before, but to touch on it more specifically. Again, at last week's candidate forum, you said you like capitalism, you like making money, and that you don't want government control over that. Let's talk more about how a Congressman, Matt Stoll, would handle the issue of government regulation when it comes to private businesses, small businesses.
I like government out of everything. There's no purpose for government to be in anything except for the common defense. And that, of course, goes with the border. But regulations are terrible. They undermine capitalism, in my opinion. In our society today with technology, if something goes wrong, the word spreads at light speed, literally. And that's fantastic. So we don't need government to come in a day late and a dollar short and explain things. They can go there through, for example, safety investigations on things like crashes, why a pipeline broke, things like that, and give us an after-action report. That's fine, so we all benefit. But for them to pass regulations, that industry can do that. Industries who fail and have cataclysmic events will be held accountable by the public. The public at large will deem whether their goods and services are solid and worth purchasing or whether they need to move to a different area. Government has no business there, none whatsoever. And as the founding Adam Smith knew and Milton Friedman has also articulated and emphasized, once you enter a bureaucratic asset like a government entity enforcing regulation, you get corruption. And that's where we are. We're at ultimate corruption. Every entity that's supposed to enforce is corrupt. And there are good people out there, don't misinterpret me, but these entities in and of themselves stifle innovation, they stifle capitalism, and they're letting the rest of the world catch up to the United States' excellent #1 position as a dominant economic power.
Matt, you said you want government out of everything essentially, but aren't you running to become part of that government?
Yeah,
you're running to be in a federal office that ultimately the laws and regulations you guys pass influence Americans on a daily basis. So aren't you going to be part of that government you say you want?
Sure.
Uninvolved in the day-to-day of Americans?
Of course, and I stand by that, and that's why I support term limits. I would go in there, best case scenario in my little pipe dream, 6 years, maybe 8. I think 3 to 4 is the right amount, not career politicians. I'm vehemently against that. I think it broods corruption and other things. But I'm going in there to cut regulation. I'm going in there to strengthen the military. I'm going in there to enforce the border. I'm going in there to ensure capitalism is absolutely championed by all persons within the government. And once I'm in there and I get it done, I'm gone. I have a life to live. I want to be able to enjoy America. I want to hopefully stay healthy and see maybe some grandkids and things like that, and enjoy the wonders of this great country.
You mentioned career politician earlier on. You also mentioned that 2 opponents of yours in this race you view as career politicians. Who are those 2 candidates? And also, are you saying you view Mr. McCarthy as a career politician?
I think, he was, absolutely. I mean, he was in there for, what is it, almost 20 years or just over. So yeah, and I think that's too long. I mean, these are all nice guys, right? They're all nice guys, every one of them. All the other candidates are nice on the Republican side, especially the ones I've met. The speaker was a great guy. He did some great things for the country, but I think that's too long. I think that's not what the Founding Fathers wanted, and if you can't tell, I am deeply rooted in what the Founding Fathers established. You come in, you're combat effective, and you get stuff done for the people, the betterment of the Republic, and then you leave, and that's what Matt Stoll wants to do.
Who are the 2 candidates?
So I think, Mike Boudreau, he's a good sheriff, I believe, up in Tulare, and then Vince Fong is really a career politician. As far as I know, he's been with McCarthy for 10 years, and now he's been an assemblyman for almost 8. I mean, that's a lot of government time. Whereas Matt Stoll, the fighter pilot and the business owner, I'm in the private sector. I can relate to the people. I'm out there fighting the everyday battles. I've been robbed as a businessman. My store's been broken into. I have to deal with theft and vandalism and cut fuel tanks and stolen fuel. So I know what's going on. I'm out in the thick of it. I'm in the trenches. And when you're in government for that long, you become detached. So I firmly believe you can't do that. It's a bad place to come from.
On the topic of Assemblymember Fong, as you know, he is in the midst of an ongoing lawsuit with the Secretary of State regarding his congressional candidacy. As a fellow opponent in that race, do you view the Assemblyman as a legitimate candidate, and do you think he should be allowed to run for Congress?
Unfortunately, I think he's a good guy. I mean, again, I don't know him personally, and so there's that. But I don't like the optic, right? I just don't like the optic. I don't like the optic that we're trying to maneuver the rules. Once again, I'm a rules guy. Like, if we're going to hold the line, we've got to hold the line. So it doesn't come off very well for the party and for our side, the Republicans. So I'm not the judge, I'm not the jury, I'm not the anything further. And so I'll just let that all play out with the Secretary of State. But everyone has a viable alternative, and they have an exceptional alternative, a guy with afterburner and combat experience, and I'm right here. And that's why it's stollatthepoll.com. Check me out and tell all your friends.
We've been through a lot of issues, Matt, but what are your top 3 priorities, would you say?
Sure. So I think it's real simple. The border, and they're all intertwined, securing it against the communist invasion, the communist agenda, which intertwines with economics. Okay, once we do that, we go for energy dominance, not independence. We champion nuclear. We streamline the regulatory process. We cut that back so we can actually get nuclear power rapidly, but we drill. Kern County, amazing, amazing. God gifted us with this wonderful resource called energy. We have natural gas and oil. We pump it like it's going out of style, and we get all that we can. We build more refineries nationwide. We have the best technology to keep everything clean, to refine beautifully. Just let free enterprise do it. Don't put up red tape. Don't do that. Let it go. And let the free market innovate. We will have electric when electric is mature. Don't you try to shove that down my throat as a government entity. Get out of our way. We don't need politicians championing it. We don't need subsidies. We don't need any of that. We need free market innovators to go out there and get it done and create new products and bring them to market.
How do you work with the California government on that?
So as a federal guy, I would fight everything that's going on here as much as I could in my capacity, which would be limited. But you know, I would do it on the federal level. So I would champion less regulations to empower things in California. You're fighting a really uphill battle with Governor Newsom. I mean, the guy is just brazen. He's in your face. He's just, you know, environment, everything, and this and that, and water. And it just hurts the people. It's hurting the people. They'll use environment. They'll use wildlife. They'll use different clubs and organizations to stifle every single aspect of innovation by our great California state. And this state is incredible. I mean, 5th largest economy in the world now, right? We have more energy than anyone. We have more gas, more oil. We have plenty of water if we would just allocate it and preserve it. And of course, I would champion that because I love agriculture. My businesses are dependent on ag. They're dependent on water. We need water, but water's been weaponized. It's, again, another tactic of the communist agenda that they're utilizing against us perfectly. And you know, that's another subject there. But so we got economics and the border, absolutely strengthening the military, and then protecting our kids, you know, law enforcement, getting the rule of law back. That's huge. I mean, my store's been broken into twice in the last 2 years. They've driven trucks right through my building, and then they run around stealing everything. And there's no accountability. And the cops have been, they've been cut from their ability to enforce, to do what they want, because it's just utter madness right now. So, I mean, we've got to get that back. We've got to get the rule of law. We have to hold people accountability. And whatever it takes to do that, whatever it takes, empower the cops, empower the police, empower the sheriffs, right? That's absolute. You don't want to get hurt on the way out of here, and neither do I. We want our kids protected. We want ourselves protected. We want our assets protected. We want our homes and personal property protected. And it's a free-for-all right now. So I would champion that cause as well.
Going back to your point about how you would handle things at the federal level when it comes to energy independence and energy dominance, isn't that in a way, because I typically viewed as local, state, and federal, if you're handling kind of the state government here in California from the federal level, isn't that part of the government regulation you said you're opposed to? Or is it more of a federal regulation to lessen the regulations at the state level?
Sure. Well, we can't. In our capacity as congressman, you wouldn't be able to, you know, manipulate the state level bureaucracy that is California at this time. So their laws are going to be enforced. Unfortunately, the liberal side tends to adopt a lot of laws from California, and of course, when that happens at the federal level, I would fight against that entirely, and I will look to cut every regulation that I can that empowers the free market system.
You've talked about water, we've talked about energy, immigration, southern border. Let's see. Let's also touch on national debt. I know that's another issue you mentioned on your website. What is your take on federal spending, the federal budget?
Sure. So it's a problem. It's a huge problem. And again, it's a weaponized tactic of the communists. They are helping spend us into oblivion. And the liberals, they are so happy to oblige because they reallocate resources to whatever crisis that has been brought to the top of the media spectrum. So I think we need to balance the budget, and we need to start reducing the budget. We need to start paying down the deficit because it's irresponsible. When I was growing up, I was taught that you don't spend what you don't have. that you have to pay your bills and you have to pay them on time. You have to be a man of your word. Say what you mean and do what you say. And so as the United States, we are the preeminent power in the world. We are the global currency. Matt Stoll, the congressman, wants to maintain that forever for our entire lives. The dollar is the currency of the world, and it needs to stay that way, and we have to be responsible with that. So we have to reduce our deficits. We have to cut spending wherever it is, no matter how painful it is. We need to make changes.
Where do you suggest we make some of those federal cuts?
There's so much pork out there. I mean, it would be pretty easy to start. And
where do we start?
Well, you've got public programs. I mean, I'm not going to line item them right now, but there's a lot of just giveaways out there. We're funding things for illegal aliens coming across. That stuff needs to be scratched out, just to name a few.
And to talk more about the campaign itself, Matt, are you planning on running in the CD20 special election?
That's the plan, yes.
Okay. When I checked as of yesterday afternoon, I hadn't seen that you pulled papers.
Sure, I have a couple more days.
Okay, but you are planning on running.
Planning on running.
Gotcha. And who do you say you view as your biggest opponent here in the CD20 race for the full term?
Well,
campaign?
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that Vince Fong he's endorsed by the congressman. You know, they got a huge war chest. You know, that's a difficult hill to climb. So, but I mean, if people are out there looking and they want a change of direction, which I think is the right thing, they want someone who's not going to be a career politician, which I think is what America and the 20th District needs. There are options out there, and I think I'm the best one.
What uncompleted work would you say McCarthy leaves behind here in the Central Valley and specifically in Kern County?
Well, you know, the water fight will never end until we get capacity. I think that's huge. I'm sure he was trying really, really hard, and I'm sure it's a difficult fight to engage in and to be successful at. So you need to pick up that baton and fight for water, fight for energy. You know, you can never stop for that too, because that's monstrous in Kern County specifically. And champion energy companies, champion their ability to execute their plans, to grow, to refresh their refineries, and to, you know, extract and make us dominant.
Last thing for me, Matt, I actually do want to touch on water a bit more. I realize we haven't, you know, dived deeper into that, but talk more about how you would handle water.
Water is so vital to our local economy with the agricultural side, and I think that we absolutely have to have more capacity. We do that. We don't need to worry. We have plenty of environmental studies out there. We just need to execute. So if we get some more capacity, we stop flushing. I know everybody's like, oh, it's not just capacity. They're flushing it. Yes, they're flushing it out for something up in the Delta area, and I don't agree with that either. So we hold back the water we have. That's step one, create more capacity, and then maybe we can entertain the flush later on if it's even needed. But I'm a big champion of capacity. We have the resources. We have the wonderful mountain range, the Sierras up there, which holds tons of water. If we have some drier years and we have that capacity, there's plenty to go around. God gave us this great thing, you know, with rain and the cycles of the environment, and it comes and goes every year. We just need to manage it. Final
topic for me, Matt. On the topic of, because we were talking about the national debt and various federal spending, where do you stand on financial support for Israel, and also continuing assistance to Ukraine, which is often tied by GOP members to the southern border?
Sure, and I think that's a problem. They cannot be intertwined, right? The border is the top priority. We need to secure it. Regarding Israel, I 100% support the Israelis. I think that we give them whatever they need. I know they're more than capable. I've been there. I know, and obviously I was in the military. They have US technology. They know how to operate it. They're very proficient. I support them entirely. And it's my belief that you can boil down all of what has happened into two things. They've been attacked by barbaric people, and they need to destroy the enemy. And that's what Matt Stoll agrees with. You need to wipe them out. These people are evil. There's no other way to cut it. They've come in, they've done atrocities, which are horrible, and so I fully support the Israeli people and the Israeli, whatever policies they need to execute. As far as Ukraine goes, I think it's a terrible situation. I hate to see the war perpetuated as it has been. They need to fight back with more resolve. How you do that becomes a strategic issue that I would leave up to military commanders. I'm not a professional expert on that, but I support the cause. I don't want the Russians to go in there and take territory, and I agree that they should get no territory. How they carve that up, how much they fight for it, and how much we support that, I'm open to. We've given a lot of resources to them so far, and I would rather see a deep dive analysis on how combat effective we are there and where we can push to an end game and an end state that keeps the Russians out of the Ukrainian area.
But for now, are you in support of more funds going to Ukraine, or do you need to see that evidence first?
No, I want to support them. I think that it's a must. But we got to, where's the accounting? We need to take a look at that. I'm not fully involved in that at this point as just a regular citizen. So I need to see, and do a dive into the numbers.
Okay. Matt, anything else I missed on your campaign?
No, Stoll@thepoll.com. Check me out. Tell everyone, spread the word, and, America forever.
Alrighty, Matt. Thank you so much for your time. We
Thanks,
appreciate you being here.
I appreciate it.